The food company's actions is not a conspiracy, it's a business. Hello everyone, welcome to Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. The reason I make these videos is because I want people to understand how their physical and mental health come together to create their overall feeling of well-being. Today, I'm actually going to tackle the idea that big business isn't necessarily conspiring against us. They're engaging in absolutely legal practices to sell products. And I want to talk about how those practices end up affecting us, affecting the choices that we make, and affecting the things that we think about ourselves and about the world when we end up at a certain weight. So first, when you take a product, and I have a product here in my hand, it's obviously some type of nut butter. I'm not going to say exactly which brand it is, but when you take a product like this and you look at the label, you're going to see some very interesting information. So first, I want to point out that in terms of transparency, this company is being transparent enough in terms of what they're expected to tell us. It's all written there. So in order to make a decision about whether or not you're going to eat this food, it would be important for you to understand what's actually in the food. So when you look at those ingredients, it would be important for you to be able to look at them and say, I know what those ingredients are. So select roasted peanuts, very obvious. Soybean oil, again, seems quite obvious. Corn maltodextrin, that one's a little bit less obvious. Sugar, very obvious. Hydrogenated vegetable oil. They break that down into cottonseed and rapeseed. Again, I know what cotton plant is, and I'm assuming rapeseed is also from a plant. But I'd have to look that up. Then we have salt, very obvious. Mono and diglycerides. Okay, it goes on to say that this contains peanuts. So here's the thing. What's corn maltodextrin? So let me get my trusty computer here. I'm going to look up what corn maltodextrin is. I'm going to read it because I didn't look this up beforehand. I grabbed that. I came to make this video. So let's see what it is. Maltodextrin is a polysaccharide. Another new word now, polysaccharide. We're going to look that up in a second. That is used as a food additive. It is produced from starch. Maltodextrin is easily digestible, being absorbed as rapidly as glucose, and might be either moderately sweet or almost flavorless. So as I read further, it says maltodextrin is high on the glycemic index, meaning that it can cause a spike in blood sugar. What are we learning here? What we're learning is that that's a second word on that label. That means sugar. So let's look at the label again. So let's look at that root word, glyceride. When you look it up, what you learn is that mono and diglycerides are imports from vegetable-based glycerol. So basically, they're getting these from vegetable-based oils. What's important for us to take note here, for those of you who are following a ketogenic lifestyle, is, and this product we now, well, I mean, we knew that when we read the label, that we have both high carb and high fat in the same product, which means it's a product that's likely to be stored. Obviously, a high carbohydrate food is going to be a food that's going to stimulate my dopamine pathways, which is a food that can cause me to have addictive reactions to it. And then we get to well, is this a conspiracy if they're putting extra sugar in my food so that I'm going to be addicted to it? And, here's where I question that word conspiracy. You see, when a drug dealer sells me some cocaine and I purchase it, we don't say, well, it was a conspiracy against Violet that he sold her cocaine and she purchased it. We just say that Violet made a mistake. She shouldn't have bought that, right? As a matter of fact, we look at the drug dealer as maybe not the best human being, but someone who's trying to make money. We understand what he's doing. This is addictive. If I can get you to buy it once, I know you're going to come back and buy it forever. What's really interesting is that drug dealers, well, at least smart drug dealers, don't take their own drug. And when you talk to people in the food industry, the ones that kind of understand what is being done to food in order to get people to buy it, a lot of them don't buy their own product. So I think we need to take a page from their book. If you're not buying your own product, why would I buy it? If you're eating whole foods, but you are shipping out cereals to me, why would I buy it? How do drug dealers get us hooked on their drug? A lot of the time you go to a party and they offer it to you for free. And again, it's not a conspiracy. It's just smart marketing. You give it away, you give it away, you give it away, and then when they can't not have it, they come running to you and then you sell it. Well, food companies do the same thing. They often put foods on special that are highly addictive, and yet the fruits and vegetables, the meats, hardly ever go on special. And when they go on special, it's nowhere near the kind of special that you get on the cereals. It's nowhere near the special that you get on bread. I mean, you can get bread 2 for 1. I've never seen steak 2 for 1. Now, the other thing, at least not in Canada. I don't know about the States, I can only talk about Canada. But the other thing that food companies do is they give you free stuff. I regularly in my advertisement package that we get in Canada, because they send these things out called in Quebec called public sacs, and in the public sac, it's not unusual to find cereal, little boxes of cereal, little trial sizes of granola bars, chocolate bars. Like they give away all manner of food in Canada because they know that if you try it and you like it, you're going to go off and buy it. And then once they have you buying it, chances are you'll buy it for years. It's not different. They want you to buy it so you can become addicted, so you can keep eating it. And it's very open because otherwise they wouldn't be giving it to you for free. We need to keep in mind, we have been educated about staying away from drugs. We have been educated to understand that drugs are harmful, dangerous, will ruin your life, and yet people still take them. People who were educated before they started taking them. It's not seen as a conspiracy if a 40-year-old is at a party and takes a decision while sober to try a drug. So why is it considered a conspiracy if a 40-year-old decides to try a new chocolate bar or try a new chip or try, right, a new cereal? I have that ability to look at that label and know exactly what's in it and know how it's going to affect me. And so here's where it becomes interesting. Are we allowing ourselves to really take the time to understand how food affects us? Isn't that the bigger issue? And that's not a conspiracy. This is about now my education. We have been educated about the harmful effects of sugar. We've been told that candy is not good for us since we were little children. And although we were permitted to eat it, we were told, do it in moderation. But how many of us are really keeping their sugar to a moderate level? How many of us have actually taken the time to investigate what constitutes sugar? The thing that I find interesting is not that we eat so much sugar. The thing that I find interesting is the fact that we were educated on the fact that sugar's not healthy, and yet how many adults, again, those 40-year-olds, do you see eating chocolate bars? Do you see eating chips? Do you see eating candy? If we've been educated to know that sugar is not good for us, why do we allow ourselves to eat cookies and cake and ice cream? Again, this is not a conspiracy. Every person has a decision to make about what they're going to eat. And what I'm trying to help everybody to understand is that as long as I call this a conspiracy, then I'm looking outside of myself to the world to say it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. When in reality, I'm the one choosing what I should be eating. And I've been choosing, up until this point, to eat sugar. So what choices are you going to make in your future? Are you going to continue to choose to eat sugar? Now that you're aware that we have 5 grams of sugar floating in our blood at any particular point in time, and that every time we raise that sugar level, our body needs to store. And every time that sugar level falls, our body needs to replace it, which typically means pushing you to eat. Are we really going to allow ourselves to be in the situation where those fluctuations are happening because we cause them? Because when I eat extra sugar, there are fluctuations that start happening in my blood sugar. Am I going to allow myself to cause my own situation? Because that's the question, again, that's in front of you. Are you taking the time to understand how food affects you, how sugar affects you, how fat affects you, and how protein affects you? Are you taking the time to understand and then apply it to the way that you eat on a daily basis? So what do we do about this? Part of the answer is knowing all the different ways that companies list sugar, all the chemical names for sugar, like the dextrose and all the oses like lactose and maltodextrins and all the different ways that sugar alcohols, and concentrated sugars are being listed, all the chemical names. So that means that I really do, when I see something listed on a label and I don't know what it means, I should be looking it up. Because when I look it up, then I'm going to know what is it, right? And to know all the different ways that fats can be labeled. Because if I don't know what's in the food I'm eating, then I don't know how it's affecting me. It becomes really important for you guys to take the time to educate yourself about these things, because at the end of the day, we get one body, and we can decide to fuel ourselves with nutrient dense, quality food that's going to help us to build the body we want in the next few years. Or we can make the decision to allow food companies to process foods that we don't need so that we can eat these quick processed foods, save time in the short run, and lose time in the long run, whether I lose it through early death or I lose it through my inability to live my later years the way that I want to live my later years. You want to be running around with your grandchildren. You want to be taking vacations wherever you'd like to take them. So focus yourself on living the life you want to live by starting that today. Eat healthy and understand to read your labels. And honestly, I'll give you another tip. Eat as many foods as you can that don't have labels. You don't need to read what's in broccoli because it's broccoli. You don't need to read what's in ham because it's ham. Try your best to eat foods that don't have labels. And you're going to see that it's much easier to make sure that you don't accidentally eat extra sugar or accidentally get addicted to something. I hope that this video helped you to understand how you can take better control of your life, how you can make sure that you are doing what you need to do to build the body that you're going to love to run around in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I want to thank you for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. I can't wait to talk to you in the next video.